What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Cryptographics. Today, we're going to be going over the future of the HSI auctions and how there could possibly be waves of yield coming. We're going to dive into the theoretical hows and how that all might work, as well as a strategy and some math for how you can figure out if it's worth it to go into the Icosa staking pool or the Hedron staking pool, how much to put in each if you want to participate in the HSIs, and so much more. But before we get into all that, I'm going to welcome everybody in here real quick. I see a lot of familiar faces. Got Hexhibitionist, Fast Abdul, KS, Crypto Jeeper, Goody, got Red Squirrel, and again, Hexhibitionist. Yo, good to see everybody in here. And as well, guys, just if you stick around to the very end, I'm going to show you guys a calculator that you can use. If you haven't got one already, I know there's a bunch of them floating around at the moment. But if you want to use a calculator for the HSI auctions to figure out how much you're paying for the HSI stake you're bidding on versus the Hedron value, then you want to grab this calculator if you don't already have one. So let's get right into it. All right. Where is here we go. So on November 13th, there's looking about 6,000 plus HSIs or hex stake instances will go up for auction over the course of the next 90 days. Now, nearly 3,000 of them will be up for grabs in the first day. And the following days will have far fewer HSIs per day, of course. It's like a spike, and then we taper off here. And so why is this significant? Well, apart from the obvious reasons, because during this period, Hedron will have to be burned for these HSIs to be purchased. And because the current price of Hedron is low compared to its ceiling price, all the HSIs could be scooped up for a potential deal. Now, you can think of this ceiling price for Hedron as around the price where the minimum bid for one of these auctions is equal to the base cost of the HSI associated with whatever the minimum bid is. Because Hedron is more than 15 times undervalued from that point currently, it is likely that far more than the minimum bid is burnt during these auctions. So when Hedron is burned, again, just as a recap, yield is created in the form of Icosa tokens for all Icosa and Hedron stakers, and additionally the We Are All the Source Address NFT holders. Now, the more Hedron is burned, the more yield will be sent to the pools. So let's look at what might happen in regards to timing the timing of these auctions for this event and in the future. So again, on November 13th, the auctions can be bid on and won after 24 hours of bidding. When a bidder wins an auction, they can make one of the following decisions. They can recycle the HSI into the HSI buyback function to mint Icosa, or they can hold the HSI and make various moves with that HSI without giving it up. So if a bidder decides to recycle the HSI they won to mint more Icosa, this means that 90 days from then, there will be another auction for the same HSI. If more than one HSI is recycled or many HSIs are recycled, then we could see another wave of auctions happening 90 days after the first mass auction event. So we almost get a cycle going here. But what happens if people start minting Icosa just before November 13th auctions? And the reason I wanted to bring this up was because, people get excited and there's FOMO, and especially because there's going to be more and more publicity of people talking about these auctions coming up soon here and how much potential yield there is. And nobody really knows, but sounds like more than the normal day. So a lot of people might want to get in on this. And because of that, you can only really get in if you're getting in before these auctions. So this is what we're talking about here, is what happens when people get in and start to FOMO in a little bit a day or two or three or four before these auctions start. So if users start minting Icosa during the few days leading up to the auctions, this will send the HSIs used to mint Icosa off for auctions 90 days from then. Now, this creates an interesting effect we were just talking about, where instead of waves of HSIs starting every 90 days, we could see the distance between these mass auction events shrink. So stick with me here. If users start to mint Icosa 5 days before the auctions, this would mean that the second wave of auctions after the first 90-day auction period would now begin 85 days after the last mass auction started. We'll call this theoretical effect, because that's really what it is, the auction FOMO effect for the rest of the video, just so we have just a title, a little label that we can stick with. So the auction FOMO effect creates an interesting effect where the auctions begin sooner and sooner from the last auctions, from when that last spike ended, while simultaneously seeing auctions after the normal 90-day mark. So instead of having cycles every 90 days, we could see the second auction event being 85 days out, then 75, and so on and so on and so on. It really depends on how many of these waves we get, which no one knows, and it's impossible to try and figure that out on the spot here. So what it is an assumption that as users see how much yield is sent to the Icosa and Hedron pools because of these auctions, more users will try to get in just before the next big wave is expected to come up for grabs. And now I have a diagram here that I'm going to bring up. I realize I'm a little bit late to the party on getting this all ready, but give me just a second, guys, and share it. Oh, let's see, window. Cool. So now what this is here, it's a little diagram to show you. Now, what I forgot to put up here was at the very beginning and to the left of this main white arrow here, there should be like a start here. So this is like Icosa launches the very beginning left. And what this is showing here, and this is not to scale as well. Like these bars and everything I'm going to explain, it's not to scale. It's just to show you the effect of what's going to happen. So on day 90, you can see the bars. This is the start of the auctions. So our auctions are going to start with a ton, and they're going to taper off. And in this case, it's like a pretty hard cut on day 2, but they're going to taper off over time. And then we go up to the next auctions. But because of this first auction period, users will FOMO in and mint Icosa here in order to stake before the auctions begin, sending HSIs up for auction in 90 days. And if they're just before this actual day 90 auction event, well, then they start here, right? They're going to start 90 days from then, which is just before day 180. And this pattern continues or could continue all the way through numerous waves. And of course, these actual auctions and the size of them are probably going to diminish in their size. Like they'll probably scale down quite a lot. They may not, but it seems likely that they will. And so this is an interesting effect where all of a sudden you have the normal cycle where it like tapers off maybe like halfway through the cycle. And instead now you're getting met with more, like, see how the distance is closing here. There's less and less room in between, or there's less and less distance in between the start, the end, or the start of this auction and the start of the next event, increase in HSI auctions. So very interesting thought process that actually could happen. And I'm really excited to see how this all plays out, because with all of this, you know, there's so many variables. There's only currently 2566 Icosa holders, and that's it. There's 1% of, less than 1% of the people that own Hex are in Icosa. Less than 10% of Hedron holders are in Icosa. And I don't want to spoil too much here because we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. So like I was saying, now this will likely have a tapering effect over the course of 4 cycles or 360 days. However, anything could happen. So currently, like I was saying, there's 2,566 holders according to etherscan.io of Icosa, so which is around 90% less than even Hedron and less than 1% of the current Hex holders. So it's just in its infancy. There's basically nobody holding Icosa right now, which is crazy. This points to the potential for growth within the holders of Icosa, which could start from seeing the effect of the HSI buyback auctions. So now that we've kind of painted this picture, let's look at how we can capitalize on the potential for what's coming with these auctions. Maybe like an elongated auction event, or just a lot longer period of time where there's increased yield than you might have expected. So let's look at staking multiple wallets or doing shorter stakes intentionally. Does this make sense? Is this a viable strategy for taking or for being able to capitalize on these HSI auctions? So the reason why we're going to talk about this here is because if you're looking at these auction events, you're either in 2 camps. One, you're like completely, or 2 or 3 camps, I'd say. You're in, I want to just get the HSIs. Maybe you got Hedron in the beginning and you want to just burn it and you want to get some HSIs to get ahead on your Hex. Then you're in that camp. The opposite camp would obviously be, I am going to stake and just sit it out and let everyone do their thing, and I'm just going to earn yield and see what happens. And the third camp is I'm going to stake, obviously, and somewhere in the middle, and I want to take advantage of an HSI to some degree if it makes sense to me, whatever your strategy is there. So if you're in the middle camp and you're not really sure what to do, this is what we're talking about. Should you do shorter stakes or longer stakes? Should you sit it out? What are the benefits between Icosa and Hedron in the staking pools when it comes to taking advantage of a potential deal, which we'll get to shortly, in these HSI auctions? So again, staking multiple wallets or doing shorter stakes intentionally. Does it make sense? This is the big question here. So If you haven't already staked and your intention is to take a bit of profit from all of these, all of the yield, staking using multiple wallets with a lower amount of either Icosa or Hedron can give you the ability to do so. Now, this means going to app.icosa.pro and clicking the Create Hedron or Icosa Stake button. And actually, I'm going to bring that up right now on screen just so you guys can actually see it and we can go along together. Second here. Okay, Chrome tab. Cool. So what I'm talking about here is if you go to app.icosa.pro, now I'm going to put this into the chat here just in case anyone wants to follow along. There we go. And let's see here. So when you're here, obviously you have this left-hand side here with Hex, Hedron, and Icosa. We're going to click on Icosa and we're going to come in here and click on create new either Icosa or Hedron stake to see what we're talking about here. And this is the menu that we're going to be using here. We're going to just be typing in numbers to mess with the stake days and the stake points that we're going to be using for the rest of this little talk we're going to have here. So keep that in mind as we're going forward, as it's this window, the create Icosa stake and the create Hedron stake window there. Okay, let's come back to the talk. And so where are we here? Yeah, this means going to app.icosa.pro and clicking the Hedron or Icosa stake button and typing in an amount of Hedron or Icosa that would get you either a 30 or 90-day stake, depending on your time frame. Now, when you type in an amount of Icosa or Hedron, the pop-up menu is going to actually show you in advance how many days minimum you must serve for that amount without having to create a stake first. And actually, I'm going to bring that up again so I can just show you guys real quick what this looks like so you understand and you can go in and mess around with this and try and figure out what works best for you. So in the Icosa stake, basically what I would do is I would type in 1. And then if you want to just quickly or easily see what's going to happen here, type in 1 and then just start typing zeros behind whatever number you push. And you'll see right away, watch the minimum stake days there. I'm going to put a 0. All of a sudden, now it's 90. Now it's 180. Now it's 270. And now it's 360. So we're not going to refine it here at the moment to figure out exactly what all this is. We'll talk about that shortly. But if we go to Hedron stake, it's the same thing. So start typing in zeros. And it should be about 1.12 billion. Yeah, 90 days, 180, 270, 360. Boom. So you can basically type this in and you can figure out in advance how much like your stake points are. So you can calculate in advance like what your percentage of the pool that you're going to have before staking and do all this to calculate, what you want to do as far as your strategy. So let's keep going here before I get lost in the weeds. So talking about all this now, of course, let's see. So depending on your time frame, when you type in an amount of Icosa or Hedron, the pop-up menu will show you. Okay, we already talked about that. So the downsides to this strategy with Icosa are that you will not be able to get more than a 5% bonus at the end of your stake should you even do a 90-day minimum stake. And this does apply for both Hedron and Icosa as well. So if you do only a 30-day minimum, you'll get no bonus on the yield earned for both Icosa and Hedron. Now, here's where things get weird, though. Since Icosa is burned from the supply when it is staked, the current circulating supply is currently as of Etherscan at the moment, it's 644,563. And in order to get a 30-day Icosa stake, you must stake a whopping 6.4 tokens or less. So if you want to do a 90-day stake, you have to stake between 7 and 64 tokens for Icosa. Now, this is a very insignificant portion to the total pool size and would likely not yield much at all, as 64 Icosa is currently worth around like $92 or something like that. So juice isn't really worth the squeeze necessarily for probably most people when they look at this. But now let's compare this to Hedron. So within the Hedron pool, you can currently stake as high as 11.2 billion Hedron and only serve a 90-day stake. That means you can currently lock up $39,760 and only have to serve 90 days. If you wish to serve 30 days minimum, anything less than 1.12 billion Hedron will allow you to do so. By staking up to 11.2 billion Hedron, the pool percentage that you would get would be no higher than 0.04% for $39,760. So let's compare this now to Icosa. And things are going to get a little interesting here. So in order to stake an equivalent amount of Icosa of 39,760 days, $39,760, you would need 28,813 Icosa tokens approximately at the moment. Now, this would net you 0.1547%. So basically 0.15, almost 0.16% of the pool, which is 3.8 times more effective in gaining pool percentage than Hedron for the exact same dollars you're putting in. So this multiple difference is the same across the board in dollar for dollar comparison, no matter if it's $1,000 or $100 or what it is. The downside, though, is that in order to stake anything over 6,500 Icosa, you must agree to a 360-day minimum stake or stake length. So even if we're taking the 30-day maximum staked, the 30-day maximum staked Hedron of 1.12 billion, worth $3,976, and then move that dollar amount to Icosa, you'd have to serve 180 days minimum. So the trade-off for a 3.8 times increase in pool share per dollar is 4 times plus higher in the minimum, or is equivalent to 4+ times difference in the minimum stake days required. So that means if normally a $3,960 or $76 would get you a 30-day stake in Hedron, that means you're serving at least 180. If you're doing 90 days, you're probably doing 360, and so on. So when it comes to earning yield and using this strategy, you must ask yourself if you're willing to wait 3.8 times more, to wait for 3.8 times more yield per dollar in Icosa alone, or if it makes sense or strategic sense to have access to your principal and yield sooner, knowing that you have access to your Hedron, and may allow you to take advantage of good deals on HSIs. And you have to consider too, how much are you willing to pay? How much, because here's the thing too, if you're looking to go and get an HSI and you're looking to spend maybe you're feeling crazy and you're going to go spend $1 billion Hedron or a couple billion Hedron. What happens if you don't get your HSI, or the one HSI that you're willing to get, or the few HSIs you're willing to get go for far more than what you're willing to spend? Well, now you just basically avoided getting any yield over that period. So you really have to think about, what pool do you want to be in for the money? Do you want to have access to your funds sooner? What are you thinking in regards to your strategy here? Because it makes sense. You can do a smaller amount of Hedron, or a larger amount of Hedron for smaller and get less yield, or you can do a larger amount of, or a smaller amount of Icosa, or a larger amount of Icosa in dollar value, but you have to serve a longer period of time. So let's talk quickly before we go on here about what is a good deal, because we've talked about that a couple times now, and what makes that up exactly. So there are many ways to view what a deal is depending on how you're valuing an HSI. So if you are valuing an HSI based on its future hex yield plus the Hedron it can mint, again, that's the base amount plus what you foresee happening in the future as far as the yield that hex stake is going to get, plus the Hedron you're going to be able to mint from that, the price you're probably willing to pay will still feel like you're getting a deal if you're paying far more than what the average user is going to pay if they're doing a different valuation for what the HSI is worth. Users who value an HSI based on these criteria are likely to burn the most Hedron of any type of user bidding on these auctions. We also must consider that there may be an emotional element to this type of bidder, meaning they could be willing to burn far more than the normal type to acquire a stake. And now this could be across the board for all types of users. People are going to get emotional, especially if you have a specific stake in mind that you want to get. And we could see the burn rate go up pretty steep for some of these HSIs, just due to people getting emotional and really, really, really wanting to get one HSI. So the second type of bidder, though, is the one where if you are strictly basing your valuation off the base value of an HSI, you'll be looking to burn less dollar value in Hedron than the base stake value is worth. Again, so you're looking to burn less Hedron than what it costs to make that stake. So a deal for this type of valuation is anything less than the cost of the stake originally. But of course, the lower the winning bid, the better the deal. But for larger HSIs with 10x Hedron bonuses and lots of T-shares, these stakes will be highly competitive most likely. And these are going to be hard ones to find deals on. Now, there's a third and final valuation that I could come up with for the type of user here. And that type of user is the one who's going to look at Hedron in terms of T-shares and ignore dollar value. Now, this is something that I've written about in my the T-share maximization methodology. And I advise you to, or I'll bring it up on the screen at some point here for anyone who wants to check it out. It is in-depth read, and you definitely have to have some technical know-how to hex, Hedron, and Icosa, but is very, very worth it. But before we get into that, let's keep going here. So again, this user is thinking of Hedron in terms of T shares and not in dollar value. So since 5555 day T share stake, so a single T share stake for 5555 will always mint 5,555,000 Hedron. A user could view the value of 5.555 million Hedron as one T-share staked max length. Now they're equivalent, not in their dollar value, but in the way they interact. So they can view the Hedron as equal to one T-share, but the price hasn't matched the redemption point yet. So this user could be only looking to redeem the minimum bid or as close as possible and maximize the use case of their Hedron tokens. Now, while this is a rare scenario to find, I don't think we've actually seen we've never seen a scenario where this has happened yet, but it is totally possible, especially if Hedron ever hits its ceiling price. So those who can find it will be able to maximize the use case of their Hedron in redemption value of T shares. And I'm going to share with you guys in a second here. Actually, in the link in the description, there is a calculator made by a community member known as Crypto Jeeper. And if you want a calculator for the auctions that are coming up on November 13th, you're going to want to go and click on that link and then download the auction calculator real quick. And actually, I'm going to open up the calculator in just a second, but I'm realizing I have just completely ignored chat and gone completely off on tangent after tangent after tangent. So let me just back up here and see if any questions. Let's see. Shane, good to see you, man. Yeah, I guess that answered your email. I never got back to you, but yeah. This is first of many now. We're getting back into it, guys and gals. Let's see here. Hedron on ETHW, your thoughts. Now, this is an interesting question here because I didn't talk about ETH work and ETH fair purposefully because the more I looked into it, the more I realized I didn't understand a damn thing about the longevity of something like proof of work versus proof of stake. And if there was going to be a move over to ETH work by communities to support it. And I wasn't going to take a stab at that whole scenario. I didn't want to be wrong and make people think that it was safe or either safe or unsafe to place money on the chain. Now we know that, of course, it's safe, but ETHW doesn't seem like it's holding up as good, obviously, as on ETH. So I think, if you're going to play on ETHW, you're basically playing with fire a little bit. You're probably going to get burned. I mean, you might not. I hope you don't. And I know I put a little bit in just at the start just to see what would happen, and I ended up losing just a tiny bit of money. I missed the run up by a couple days, and it's just been going down ever since. So that's the thing with ETHW. It is a little bit more of a gamble right now. So those are kind of my thoughts. And let's see here. Does staked Icosa count towards the holder's total? Oh, wait, hold on. Does staked Icosa count towards the holder's total? This is one thing that I was trying to figure out, and I believe it does. And I could be wrong on that front. If it's only 2566, that's super low. It might be a little bit higher. So caveat to what I was saying earlier about the Icosa holders, it might be a little bit higher than 2566, or it could be just higher in general by a lot. But as on Etherscan at the moment, it definitely shows 2,566 Icosa holders at the moment, which is nothing at the moment. So yeah, guys, real quick, if you're loving this, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and help us get this stream out to everyone else so everyone can get educated on the HSI auctions coming up in like less than 2 weeks now. So let's go into Robert Lucas. Thanks for the question. He says, as far as I know, not all the Hedron is burnt in auctions. Half is burnt and half goes to Icosa's staking pool. I think Alex said this. Can you confirm? It is the Hedron burnt in previous day divided by the hex share rate. Now, the hex share rate is basically like take the T share rate and you basically multiply it by 10. And it's basically the number. If you can imagine, if the T share rate, there's a decimal after it, whatever that number is the decimal goes away and it's a 6-digit number instead of a 5-digit number that's applied to that equation. And then all of the auctions or all of that yield is individually, the same amount is sent to the Hedron, the Icosa, and the WhatsApp pool individually. But it's not 50% burned. I think I actually said that in a previous video, and that is incorrect. I definitely got that mixed up at some point because of all the stuff I've been doing and just numbers flying everywhere. So my apologies about the confusion there if I caused that. Defish Thanks for the comment, man. It says, I'm so glad I found your channel, bro. Your videos have taught me so much, and I love to listen and learn about crypto with you, man. Dude, awesome. I couldn't be happier to have you here, man. Thank you for watching, and there's so much more coming. So I'm glad you could be here. Let's see here. David on there. Hex Pulse Chain Pulse X, all safe and be profitable. Exactly. Let's see here. Is it okay to focus just Hedron and Icosa and ignore Hex? Well, here's the thing. Yes, you totally could do that. And because you could look at the speculative possibilities of what Hedron and Icosa could do if everything is perfect. But the problem with that logic is that nothing happens perfectly like we want it to. You know, there's going to be moments like look right now. You know, Hedron is down about 15, 16, 17x lower or 16x away from where it should be if it was at the ceiling price in regards to Hex. Now, that means that it's off that peg. It could go lower. It may never reach that peg. And the thing with Icosa too is that similar things can happen. You know, that it could depeg, you know, maybe after one of these auctions, like 180, 270 or 360 days out, some of the bigger players go ahead and start selling their Icosa, and Icosa goes from its peg and just like goes down. And now all of a sudden, yeah, you may just have had a ton of yield, but now you're down bad because Icosa has tanked or Hedron has tanked, but yet Hex stayed up. Hex is the OG. Without Hex, neither Icosa nor Hedron exist, nor are they relevant. So we can't, yes, you know, you can be a little bit more risky and go a little bit more heavy into Hedron and Icosa or one or the other, but you know, you're definitely playing a more risky game. Hex is not going anywhere, and it is, I don't want to say more secure, but I mean, Icosa and Hedron are based on Hex. Hex is based on Hex. It's just Hex. It doesn't need anything else to survive, right? And it's not attached to anything. So you want to make sure that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket unless you 100% know what you're doing. And I wouldn't even recommend that. I'd recommend breaking things up into percentages. So we got a super chat from Adam Staroska. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And thanks for the $4.99. You were the man. Thank you. Let's see. Monica, what is up? Yo, we got Firefighting and Monica in here. Good to see everybody. Sweet. Yeah, only 11 days away from these auctions, which is crazy to me that we're this close. You know, I can't believe Icosa launched August 15th and we're already here. So real quick, what else did I have for you guys I wanted to go over? Because we've gone over a whole hell of a lot here. Anyone in the chat, if you've got questions right now, now is the time to bring them up. I'd love to answer them. We can open this up to a Q&A for everything we've talked about today. You know, if you're watching right now, A, smash the like button. But B, if you're watching right now and you have questions based on anything I've said, throw me a question or anything that you've thought of going into the auctions or about Hedron or Icosa. Let's use this time now to make sure that everyone is in the know and get everyone up to date and ready for these auctions to make the best decision they possibly can. Awesome. I see Cole, we got a question here. So how do you think the auctions will affect Hedron total supply and the Hedron Icosa stake payout? So let me see here. I don't have all of the auctions to date. I think I have about 5,000, mid 5,000 range, but actually, we won't go there first. Let's go to the effect of Hedron total supply. So this is an interesting one because it's impossible to know. We know around a minimum of between 200, somewhere between 200 and 300 billion, I think, is the minimum that we'll see burned. If only the minimum bids are basically used to buy the HSIs. If anyone bids more than the minimum bid, that number goes up. So we're at least going to see about somewhere around 250 billion. This is rough, guys. Don't take this as like the exact thing, but it's somewhere around here. It could be higher, it could be lower by a little bit. But based on the minimum bids, we're going to see somewhere around that removed from supply. So not a whole lot, but if we see some of these bigger players, like we've got Poly that is coming out and they're looking to, you know, take a lot of HSIs, and they're sounding like they are looking to, you know, push the smaller players out to try and just scoop up everything, get everyone to come in, which means they're willing to burn a whole lot of Hedron, which means that the payouts could go up and the Hedron burned or the Hedron supply could come way down. Now there also is a bunch of bigger players that have trillion plus tokens. Don't know what they're going to do, but there's the possibility that some of them get involved because they got into hex early. They got a bunch of hedron. Now they want to accumulate more hex. So they're willing to just get rid of the hedron to accumulate more of the actual thing they want. Don't know. Going to be it's hard to say, and only time will tell. But I think it's likely that we'll see more than the minimum bid by a decent amount, but I'm not going to quantify that specifically. So I hope that answers the question here. Let me see if I just got it. Effect total supply. Yeah. So I think I covered the Hedron Icosa stake payout. Let's see here. Yeah, hop on. Let's see here. I always have, I'll have to rush jumping late. Yeah, you just fire me questions too, Monica, as well, if you have them after the stream. Fast Abdul says, will the website be upgraded for the auctions? Yes, it is going to be app.icosa.pro, not hedron.pro, but app.icosa.pro for the auctions. I'll bring it up real quick just so you guys can see it. For anyone that doesn't know, let's see here. Also, if you're watching this video and you want the text version, I'm going to be releasing the text version on my blog. I haven't put it out yet. I'm just finalizing a couple little details to just in text format. But if you want to read what we're talking about today, just to kind of go over it and play with it in your head, try to figure out if you want to use some of this data or insight or theory for your strategies, then definitely go ahead and read that. I'll hopefully have it up in the next hour or two, but that will be there. So let's go to app.icosa.pro. So this is the website. It'll probably be somewhere on Icosa, or it might be Hex or Hedron in these little tabs here. I don't know exactly where they will be, but they're coming to this site and not hedron.pro. So just remember that. It's app.icosa.pro, not hedron.pro. So hope that answers your question. So let's see. Goody says 500 million, so 526.4 million of staked hex is coming to market in 11 days via liquidation auctions. True. So let's go to, I wonder if I can bring this up. Let me see if I can do this real quick, guys. I'm going to try to go to the stakehex.today. Let's see, stake. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is the one. Okay, I'm going to share this screen real quick. You guys will see this load real time here. This is going to be cool. So we'll take a look and see how much of this staked hex is coming to market in just a moment. It's this one. Okay, so should be loading. Okay, so this is going to do its thing now. While it's doing that, I hope you guys can see this real time. We're going to let this load. And in the meantime, I'm going to answer some more questions while that's doing its thing. Yo, Gubby, good to see you, man. I'm going to get a hold of you soon. Sorry, just lots going on here. We'll talk after the stream, actually. I'll fire you an email. Let's see here. I think it would be, let's see. Hexbear says, I think it would be ideal if Hex was up against Hedron going into the auctions. This would burn so much Hedron. I think it would be ideal if Hex was up against Hedron going to the auction. I'm not sure I fully understand. I don't know why. I should be able to understand that, but for some reason I can't. You know what? Can you reword that for me there, Hexbear? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by saying it would be ideal if Hex was up against Hedron. And then I'll answer your question here, or I'll talk about what you're saying here. How much gas will it cost to participate in the auctions? It really depends on the day. From what I've heard, it shouldn't be too much. It should be a relatively low fee, like in the single-digit dollars. But who knows? I mean, we've seen all sorts of stuff happen in regards to like Zen, which basically pushed the gas price up like crazy. And I'm pretty sure there's a launch from Zen coming up, like an NFT launch, which actually is probably going to spike the gas price again on that day. I've heard speculatively it be spoken about that, someone could, if they wanted to and they were a bigger player, basically push up the gas price themselves and just force gas prices to be high and maybe force smaller players to be out, which I don't agree with at all. But I guess it is what it is. And so I don't know. It shouldn't be stupidly high, but if there's the NFT thing going on with Zen, and if someone decides to game the system for themselves, and to, I guess, play by the rules, but to the outskirts of the rules, then probably see a little bit higher gas fees, which is not great, but it is what it is. So let me see here. So this is still loading. Robert Lucas, Icosa is greater than T-share is greater than Hex. So Actually, let's talk about this for a second. I'll go on a bit of a rant here. So when it comes to the systems of Hex and Hedron and Icosa, if you've read my T-share maximization methodology, which there's probably a link in the description to go to the cryptographics website, cryptographics.com. And then what you're going to want to do is go to the digital downloads, and you're going to be able to click on that link for the ebook, which is free. Just download it and you can read this. But Hex is a system, right? The Hex smart contract is a system. It's not better or worse than the T-share, but the T-share is the rarest thing or the most rare piece and the most difficult piece, the most expensive piece, which is always getting more expensive piece of the ecosystem. So like the goal of the Hex smart contract, right? Or the goal of the best use case of Hex, if you get a number of Hex period, the best use case you can do with it, if you're playing the game of maximizing the use of the contract, is to stick as long as possible, because you're trying to maximize, you're trying to basically, what's the word? You're trying to maintain T-shares, right? So the name of the game in Hex is to maintain whatever T-shares you originally have or had when you stake. That's the name of the game. When Hedron came in, what Hedron allows you to do, if there's ever that period where there's a redemption point where you can basically redeem 5.555 million Hedron for a single max length stake T-share, well, then that means Hedron has a redemption rate for an extra T-share. So Hedron is like a coupon to get you more T-shares, right? And only if these redemption points, like, and when I say redemption point, I mean like a ceiling price, only if a ceiling price is ever hit. So now Icosa, though, Icosa is like basically fractions of a T-share. It's like currently like 1/200, a single Icosa is like 1/250 something, 255th or something of a T-share. But every single day that Icosa, now in terms of if the ceiling price is held, Icosa is increasing in dollar or in redemption value for a T-share. So that means over time, 0.25 or one Icosa might be like 0.25% or 0.16 or something like that percent of a T-share in its value. But over time, that single Icosa token will become 2, 3, and 4, and 5% of a whole T-share over time, because it's getting harder to mint Icosa, because as the T-share rate goes up, it gets more difficult to mint Icosa, and the amount of Icosa that you can get per dollar goes down as well. So you have Icosa, which is like the full-on maximization of a T-share. It's like growing your T-shares. Hedron is like your coupons to maximizing or to gaining in the Hex ecosystem. And Hex is a way of preserving what you already have in the system. Now, Hex is the most important thing, obviously, but I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit of a rant, but there's no greater than scenario here. There is just potential. There's best use cases, I would say. Millie54, what's up, my man? Good to see you, Cryptographics. Hey, good to see you. It's good to be back. I know it's been a minute. Actually been almost too long, guys. I've been inconsistent. Obviously, if you've been on Twitter, there's been a whole lot going on. But yeah, we're back, and we're going to stay back. So I've learned a lot. I'll say that. Let's see here. I don't know what Cabana is. I really don't. Let's see. If you bid a chunk of your Hedron and get outbid, or let's see, if you bid a chunk of your Hedron, get outbid, will the Hedron be immediately back in your wallet so you can use it to bid again? Yeah, basically. Now, I haven't bid, so the best of my knowledge is when someone bids, it cancels your bid, your Hedron returns to your wallet, then you can bid again. So it's never like you're basically giving up Hedron for the rest of the bidding or the auction. It goes back to your wallet, essentially. You get the ability to use it again. Let's see. Hexbar says, so let's say that Hex was 10 cents and Hedron was still at the same price it is now. The underlying value of the HSIs in the auction would be higher. Yep. Thus, more Hedron will be needed to win the auction. Exactly. Yeah. So right now, let's go to Nomics. Let's go to Hedron. Actually, let's bring up this calculator real quick. I don't know why I wasn't bringing that up here. I'm going to put down this stake Hex today. I'll let that load in the background there. It might have frozen. Let's just Get rid of that. Let's go to the calculator. Oh God, that's the wrong button. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Do I have it open already? No, I don't. All right. I don't know where it is. I thought I could find it here, but all right, this is taking too long. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to do that. So basically right now, because Hedron is around, what is Hedron's price? It's 5 zeros and 358. So if I go to, let's see, I wonder, actually maybe I can find it this way. Give me 1 second, guys. Calculator. No? All right, fine. I really want to bring this calculator up. I don't know why it's not working. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let me load. Go to share my screen. Window. Yeah, let's go to this one. Okay, so here's what we could do. So we go hex price. So this is the auction calculator that you guys are going to be able to download, which is in the description. If you want to use this one, go there, go to the Google Sheets link, and then download the file for yourself. I'm going to show you how to use it right here. So in order to calculate what HexBear is saying, so looking at to see if hex was 10 cents and Hedron was still at the same price as now, what would happen? Well, let's look at the value. And I'm going to bring your comment down for a second, my friend, so we can, excuse me, so we can see exactly what's going on here. So what we have to do is we have to type in the price of hex, so 0.1. And then we know that the Hedron price has 5 zeros and 385, I think it is. 359, sorry. 359, and the T-share rate is X, let's see. Hex daily stats. Let's see. I can't remember what the T-share rate is, guys. Give me 1 second. 24996. Wow, we're almost at 25,000 hex per T-share. 4996. Whew. Okay, so if hex is at, so this is cool. So the minimum bid, let's see here. So what would the minimum bid for T-share date with current bids, served days? Let's go like 89. And minimum bid. I think this is wrong. Why is this? Minimum hex. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Cost of T-share. Right. Okay. So if hex was at 10 cents currently, we'd be seeing about 41, almost 42 times under that. If you were getting the minimum bid, you'd be spending 42 times less money than the stake is worth by bidding the minimum bid of 5.555 million Hedron for a single T-share. But because we don't want to go crazy here and we want to keep things realistic, let's go to the hex price. And so we're at, we're back down into the threes. So 0.39399. So let's see here. Oh, this is the wrong one. Let's see. 0.399. That should be quite a bit lower. So about 16.67x is what we're seeing here. Now let's go one more. Cool. Now, so what this calculator allows you to see is how low the value of Hedron is compared to the stake. So now if we just basically go ahead and take off, let's say we take off a 0, what happens? Well, now we're getting close to the base value of the stake. If we take off another 0, now we're actually bidding more because this is red, and you can see these are labeled here. We're bidding more than the base value of the stake. So let's put this back on. Cool. 16 points. So basically 17x away from the value of the base value of the HSI. Okay, let me come back into chat here. And yeah, I closed that because I think it just froze. Basically, we're gonna talk about the amount of hex that is going up for grabs starting on November 13th, but it froze. So I'm just gonna leave that one alone. All right, let's just stop that screen share. And Twitter can be very toxic. It's not great for the mental health. I'm trying to use it as little as possible, honestly. I prefer to be here, honestly. Hey, good to see you, Scott. Glad you could be here, man. Hope you're having an awesome day, brother. Fast Abdul, what about WhatsApp? So the WhatsApp pool is going to get the same amount of yield that all the other pools are going to get. And it's as simple as that, to be honest. Let me know if there's another part of this question that you want me to answer. Definitely fire that back in the chat and I'll get to it. Frank says, if you minted your Hedron 10X and then staked it for Icosa, if you minted your Hedron 10X and then staked it for Icosa, are you still getting Hedron until your stakes expire? Let me see here. Sorry, this is a little bit confusingly worded. If you minted, so normally if you mint Hedron, as long as there's Hedron remaining, what you're doing though is if you're trying to mint Icosa and you're basically minting Hedron first, you're basically removing some of the Icosa you can mint, because the way that you get Icosa is basically like mintable Hedron from a hex stake divided by the T-share rate or hex share rate. So you're basically, by removing some of that possible number, you're lowering the total Icosa you could get from minting, which doesn't really make sense. Like, sure, you might get a little bit of, if you got I guess if you have a 10x, it's harder to argue with that. But if you got to be careful, because those 10x bonuses apply to your Icosa minting as well. And if you are removing that, well, you're removing the bonus that you get for your Icosa. So you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing, because you're not going to get all the Icosa you want if you do that. So OX Will says, glad you're back. Your insight is valuable to the community. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It is good to be back. I took a little bit of a breather there. I needed one apparently. And now we're back, and I am stoked on where we're going here, because we're so close to these auctions. There's so much going on. We're going to have so many streams and videos coming up soon here in preparation for all this. Crypto Jeeper says, I assume you pay gas when you bid, right? So if you get outbid, will you lose whatever gas was paid? You're basically like, my understanding is when you bid, you are pledging, and then at the very end, you pay a gas fee. Hard to plan a strategy when you have no idea how the layout of the site will look. I know. With that many HSIs, you would think some could get overlooked as timers count down. Yeah, I have no idea what this UI or this user interface is going to look like. It'll hopefully be soon. It'll be designed in a way, like Alex is so good at what he does. I am sure that it's going to be perfect, and it'll be very, very, very easy to navigate. I mean, it might be complicated because we're talking about like 6,000 plus HSIs over the course of, I guess it'll be like 90 days, but the first 30 days or the first day is only going to have like around 3,000, which I guess that's still a lot. That's still a lot of T-shares, guys and gals. But there should be I wonder what he's going to do. I know that he'll design it really well, though. I trust Alex, and I know that he'll do an awesome job. I trust, but I also have no expectations from him as well. So Als says, would you input the T-share rate as 24996, or would you use the T-share rate for a 5555 stake, which is much lower at around 8,000? So you're using the T-share rate to calculate the rest of it. Let me bring this up again. Let's see here. So this box, so if you put this in here, the 24996, then you automatically, this calculator calculates what a max length T-share costs in hex terms, which is 8,332. So this is an automated thing where you basically just type in whatever the T-share rate is, and this automatically calculates it for you. So I hope that answers that question. Fairly simple, but oh God, I just didn't mean to open that. Cool. Let's see. Monica says, under the circumstances, would you rather 5555 via native or HSI? And what about WhatsApp? Would you rather 5555 via native or HSI? Well, personally, it's more expensive. I know that, but I think HSI, for me at least, is my favorite, because I mean, you have options. You know, in a worst case scenario, and if you're really feeling crazy, you have if you're technically savvy enough to do it, you could do the whole arbitrage opportunity if the ceiling price is ever exceeded. You can send and move and do whatever with your hex stake. It's not locked into one wallet. So for security reasons, I really like that. You also have the option to move it into Icosa at some point. There's just many other reasons that I personally like over having just the native hex stake. And maybe one day we'll see the yield actually coming in to the app.icosa.pro to see how much yield your hex stake is actually getting. But at least for me, it's not a big issue. I'm not really worried about it. I just let the whole thing, I just let it run. I'm not worried about watching it every day. It's a small amount in comparison to Icosa at the moment, so I'm more paying attention to Icosa. Maybe maybe in the future I'd care more, but still, I think HSI is my favorite at the moment, and it has been for a while actually. Definitely like the HSI, but there's nothing wrong with the native stake. Now, native stake is locked into the Hex smart contract. It's like the most secure possible thing you could possibly stake in. Doesn't mean Hedron is not secure, but it's an extra layer you have to consider by going through the DApp. I just did my WhatsApp and left the math to the contract. Exactly. Now the WhatsApps are cool. In the future, you could see those things being quite valuable. I could see them being very valuable, actually. Let's see. You got to use it sparingly. It's very toxic. Let's see. Firefighting 82. So click the link for the calculator, but can't change the numbers. Is there a trick to work on? Oh, you have to download the calculator. So go file download. I think you have to, I don't know where that is on the menu, but make sure you download it. You won't be able to edit it. You can't edit the calculator in Sheets. You have to do it on your own. So Hedron price going into auction. Well, if we look throughout history, actually, I'm going to bring up TradingView real quick because we're going to go over some stuff here. This is just some thoughts I've had, and no, this is not technical analysis. This is not financial advice. This whole stream isn't financial advice. So take all of this with many, many grains of salt. Let's look at the Hedron price real quick. Let's see, I'm going to just share my screen. Let's see. This one? Yeah, this one. So let's look. Why am I on? I need this one. Okay. So right around here, August 14th. So this point right here was the point where Icosa launched. So what we could see here was a buy the rumor and sell the news. And there have been many, many, many events that have happened like that. Like you look at Hex, and if we go to, where is it here? Let me just get not the 6 month. Let's go to the bigger one here. So right here, I think this was it. So this is when we got news of PulseX is coming out, and then we had to buy the rumor, and then boom, sell the news. So what I foresee happening is I think that we're going to see another buy the rumor, sell the news event where the price will come up a bit. I don't know how much it's going to be. It could be a small amount, could be a lot. I could see the price coming up so that those who want to take advantage of FOMO and cash out or move their funds somewhere else can utilize that. So it might not happen, but I could see something like that happening. And so Hedron price could go up. Also, I mean, we got the news today, and I'm not a macro guy, so I'm probably going to sound just, I guess, uneducated saying anything to do with the basis point update for today, 0.75 basis points. But I mean, we saw Hedron and everything dive a little today. So maybe we're going back down, and maybe everything just goes lower coming into the auctions in general. Could happen. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I've seen some interesting things talking about what's happening within the banking systems, and that there's looking like there's some serious trouble going on for the banks over from Switzerland and the Fed and all the other smaller entities, but still lots to consider. And so it's hard to say, my man, but I could see a buy the rumor, sell the news unless we get pushed down by a global event. The Mind Coach says, if you bid for an HSI and you get outbid, do you lose the Hedron that you bid? No, it goes back into your wallet so you can use it again. Now, you're only paying the gas fee, I believe, if you are the winner. It's kind of like a pledge. You know, the wallet is able to, or the DApp should be able to see what the Hedron that you have in your account. You can pledge that to the bid, and then if someone else outbids you, it just spits yours back out, and you can rebid again. So you should be able to basically, if it's not like you're never losing your Hedron, you're never locking your Hedron into the bid by doing so. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, let's see. Sandy Beach, what's up? Good to see you. David James, good to see you. Yeah, exactly. Use Twitter as much as you want. Control your spend energy engaging with. It's a good point. Twitter itself is not toxic. It's how you utilize it that's toxic. It's a good point. And I was even seeing a thing today. So if you here's something I saw today for you guys that are wanting to utilize Twitter, use the lists. Basically take lists, and I haven't done this myself yet, but I'm going to. And basically put the people that you have in maybe specific categories. Like let's say you have like a mental health or like a health stuff or like weightlifting, fitness stuff. You put all those people on one list. Then you put your crypto people on a list. Then you put your anything else. You make lists for all the different types of people you want to interact with or see tweets from. And then when you go on Twitter, you can go to the specific people you already know that are on those lists to get the information that you want. So that way you're not just perusing Twitter aimlessly for hours and hours trying to find one piece of information. So that's something I learned today, which is a really cool thing that I'm going to do. And I advise everyone to do that so you're not just perusing Twitter for no reason, unless you like it. And if you like it, just keep going. Ignore me. So let's see here. UFO to go. What's up, my man? UFO has landed. Good to see you in here. And Fast Abdul says, you're not so evil, always helping, never plotting and scheming. Yeah, man. It's all for good. All for good. All righty. So, guys, that's pretty much all I had for today. If you guys have any other questions or anything you want to talk about, and you want to talk about Pulse Chain for a second or anything more with Hedron or Icosa, now's the time to ask those questions. If you haven't already, and let's go actually I want to see how many likes we have on YouTube so far. We definitely need to get the likes up. Likes are 112 watching, 73 likes. Guys, let's get to 100 likes. If you're watching right now, all I ask is that you please smash that like button. That's all. That's it. That's all. Hope that's not too much to ask. Let's go. And if you haven't already, hey, subscribe. Can't hurt. It's free today, I promise. And let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions rolling in. So I think, guys, because let me just make sure we've gone over everything I wanted to go over today before we end this. Went over the calculator with you guys. We talked about everything. Yes, so there's going to be a blog version, not of the Q&A section of this stream, but of the first like 20 or 30 minutes. That'll all be written on my blog and right on time, Sloth. Right on time. Good to see you, brother. And okay, my coach says, which are you more bullish on, Hex, Hedron, or Icosa? This is the hardest question because there are two different trains of thought, at least in my mind. There's one that's like perfect world where everything goes exactly as well as it possibly could, and then the other route is where we get into the real world stuff where like things aren't perfect. So in a perfect world, I would be probably the most bullish on Icosa, just for purely price performance, if absolutely nothing could ever go wrong. But because that's probably, it's very, very untrue and it's a very unperfect world. We've already seen dips and depegs from Icosa, and Hedron's down to the ceiling price. And so, I mean, honestly, I don't know if I could say most bullish on either of them. I think that there's the most potential, assuming the pegs and all these things and all of the attributes that, or the price thresholds essentially that are related to Hex. If those are held, Hedron and Icosa should be very, very, very quick moving upwards in relation to Hex. But that being said, I mean, all these auctions that are coming up with Icosa in like 270 days, 360 days, or less than that from now, basically May 13th, like sometime in August, we could see a lot of these, a lot of Icosa coming out, and that could plummet the price of Icosa. So really, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with how the market values Icosa when those big dips come. Like maybe the dip keeps going, or maybe it just gets eaten up and people just devour it to get back into the Icosa staking platform. So it's really hard to say because Hex is the GOAT. Like Hex is the GOAT in my opinion, but Hedron and Icosa are built on the GOAT. So I love them. And I love the mechanics of them. Like as far as the games and systems mechanics and all that, I love Icosa and Hedron. And of course I love Hex, and I love them all, but different, and we're still learning it. But as far as bullishness goes, I'm bullish on all of them, honestly. If you're holding one of them, you're going to be good, I think. So let's see here. What is your T-share maximization crypto? Yes. Okay. Let me bring that up real quick. So let's go to cryptographics.com. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Chrome tab. Let's go to this one. Cool. So, and I'm just going to bring, it's just good there. Cool. So this is the website. So you go to cryptographics.com. So I'm going to put it in the chat for anyone who wants to go there and download this. Let's see here. Where is it? Okay. So yeah, of course, if you like the hoodies, go ahead and check them out. T-shirts. I like this guy, the Be Your Own Bank. It's the thing I'm going to try and make trend over the next little while here. But you go to digital downloads, and then you're going to basically click on this guy, which is the T-share maximalism methodology, which is basically strictly talking about how to maximize T-shares within systems and has no relevance to dollar value whatsoever. But it's an interesting read and shows you how the systems can work together over time. And simply what you're going to do is click Add Cart. You are going to view the cart. And apparently I'm taking 3 home today. So then what you do is you would just check out, type in your information, and you don't have to put your actual personal stuff you don't want to. You can type in a mock-up, like your first name, last name, phone number, all that stuff. Like, you don't have to give me that, or I don't look at it anyways. But if you want to basically put your information in here, you can get this T-share maximalization methodology, and it's completely free whatsoever. There's no charge for it. So you can go ahead and do that. And did I put that in the, I think I did. Yes. Cool. So that's where you get that. Where do you see what's the yield? So if you go into the, let's see, window, Chrome tab, it's this one. Again, I don't have anything in this wallet for good reason. I use it on stream. But if you wanted to see your what's the yield, you go to the Icosa tab. And then you're going to scroll all the way down to where it says we are all the SA. And you'd see your token ID, you minted on the day, the stake points that you get, and the yield you've got or you've received so far. Now, there's actions button here again. I think it's like send or tokenize, or I think it's send or burn, one of the two. Yeah, I can't remember off the cuff here, but there's 2 actions I believe that you can do there. So Icosa tab, scroll down below the Icosa and Hedron staking. Then click We Are All the SA. Boom. Done. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. That's good to know. I'm going to have to make sure I do that for whoever I'm watching. Sweet. Hey, Sloth's a hardworking guy. I know he's busy. He's all up in people's teeth, cleaning and doing crazy things. He shows up when he can. Thanks for being here, buddy. Good to see you, man. A group of bears is called a sloth of bears. Coincidence? Might be. I got to lean towards Hedron pumping the hardest. Well, it depends it depends on your time frame. And that's honestly, I could do a whole nother hour stream on how that might work, but I'm going to save that for another one because holy moly, we could go off the deep end. Oh, dude, I forgot. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So Sloth, I forgot. So this was actually a calculator that a community member sent me a while ago. I thought he did a great job. So if anyone wants to use it, you can go ahead and use that one. Or, hey, Sloth also has one. Sloth, if you have a link to that, you can toss it in here. I'll put it up on screen so people can use it. But yeah, there's 2, 3. There's a bunch of calculators out there, guys, and they're all great. Let me go back here. I think I missed something. Hedron, well, yeah, Hedron's going to pump the hardest, but it also has its ceiling prices. The only reason it can pump is because it's below its ceiling price. So if it reaches its ceiling price, everything changes dramatically in the way that both the prices of, let's say you held $100 of Hedron and Icosa at the ceiling price. Which one do you think is going to perform better, Hedron or Icosa? And I want to see, yeah, for that question, put 1 in the chat if you think Hedron would pump faster, and 2 if you think Icosa would pump faster at the ceiling price. UFO to Ghost is glad you haven't thrown in the towel with content graphics. We need all good medicine from the bear market blues. I ain't going anywhere, man. I just take breaks sometimes. You know, maybe you say something that was a little bit out there, and then I have to take a break and regain myself. But I'm back and I'm not going anywhere, guys. Let's see. Hedron, assuming fair value ceiling will be met. Where can I find the sloth calculator? I'm just waiting to see if he has the link, or if you're not a mod. Oh my God. Okay. Hey, whoever's a mod, make sloth a mod, and RH Max and UFO to go. And whoever's in here that is chatting right now and doesn't have a wrench, you guys need one. If you guys have the power, give them wrenches, please. Let's see. Yo, RH, what's up, buddy? Good to see you in here, man. Let's see here. Alan, good to see you. Thought I missed the whole stream. Good to see you live, Cryptographics. Hey, thanks, man. It's good to be back. It really is. And Oscar, I'm betting on B share reaching T share parity. Ooh, I need an explanation for that. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, Max all of a sudden showed up with jokes. Yeah. always. All right. Let's see. So we got. Okay. I'm gonna check this for what everyone's thinking here for Hedron versus Icosa. So we got. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 for Hedron, and we have 1, 2 for Icosa. Okay, so here's the thing. Hedron and Icosa at their ceiling prices are going to act very different. Here's why. You will always get the same amount of Hedron from a 5555 T-share stake. You will not always get the same amount of Icosa from a 5555 T-share stake. That amount is decreasing over time. So if you can imagine this, the Hedron yield, hold on, which we're going up into the right, there we go. So the Hedron yield will be moving like this. The Icosa yield will be moving like this. And the reason for that is, like I said, over time, one T-share gets less and less Icosa, even if doesn't matter if it's 100,000 hex per T-share, whatever it is, Icosa's ceiling price will move up faster than Hedron. Mathematically speaking, you can go ahead and calculate this, and you can see the differences. And the reason why there's a dilemma here is that Hedron isn't at its ceiling price. So right now it's 16x below, but that doesn't mean that long-term Icosa still won't outperform it. There's some interesting math we could dive into, but again, like I said, we could go on for hours and hours and hours just talking about math and all this stuff, but it's all speculative. So if they're both at their ceiling price, Icosa will move faster. 100%. That is my final answer on that one. But because Hedron's lower, Hedron is a great buy as well. And it will always be a great buy. Let's see here. I think I'm a little behind now. Let's see. Let's see. I didn't. I still have enough. My behalf. Let's see. Okay, I went outside to do yard work, but I have nothing to say about yard typing on my phone. That's fair, dude. All right, let's see if we got any more questions here. Yeah, we're killing Hedron 61x undervalued. Yes, exactly, which is why it's important to pay attention to Hedron, and always will be important to pay attention to Hedron. And if you read my methodology, you'll understand why it's important to hold Hedron when Hedron ever reaches its ceiling price. Because when Hedron ever reaches its ceiling price, that means 5,555,000 Hedron will be able to purchase 1/3 of whatever the T-share rate is, meaning you get a max length T-share stake always for 5.555 million Hedron. Whew, I know. Sorry, this is a lot of numbers and stuff flying around. I have some charts and stuff that I'll bring up soon, guys, in different streams to make this easier. But it is, I know it's complicated. It's hard. It's difficult to get your head wrapped around. You guys are going at it. I love it. Disco Duckbill says, do we really want to end an Hedron or Icosa stake and lose the T-share rate we locked in at the time so we can top up the other stake? Also, when would be a good time to end the stake to collect the yield? This is an interesting question. So there's a lot to this. Now, do we really want to end a Hedron or Icosa stake and lose the T-share rate we locked in at the time so we can top up the other stake? This is a tough one because if you end your stake, you're giving up your share rate that you got in the beginning. Now, if you add to the stake instead of ending it, you don't get the yield, of course, and you don't get, like, let's say you put in 500 Icosa in the beginning and you got, I don't know, 2 million stake points or something like that. Well, if you put in 500 Icosa now, you would not get 2 million stake points. You'd get less than that because the T-share rate's gone up, meaning it's harder to get into the pool. So, but you still keep your original stake points from the original principal that you had. So, and the big dilemma here is it worth it to fulfill your minimum bid and then end it, or just let it go until it makes the most sense to actually end the stake? Because if you end that stake, you can never get the same stake points again. I'm wondering, actually, this is a question I'm going to have to look up. If you have if the yield that you get can possibly push you up to get more stake points than you originally had. I think you actually can. I'm gonna have to look into that, guys. But let's see here. Do we really want to end it? Yeah. So you want to be careful. If anything, you want to try and complete the stake and let the minimum sit, at least in my opinion, and then try and wait for the perfect opportunity to cash out, or to basically input the most Icosa you can possible, or then maybe end the stake and then maybe split up some of that Icosa into different wallets. So that way you have multiple, you have like a waterfall strategy where you're basically doing like a 90-day, 180-day, 270-day strategy, and so on. So you can actually get yield more regularly, or maybe passive income more regularly, just as food for thought. But also the other part of the question was, when would be a good time to end the stake to collect the yield? Oh yeah, I guess I answered that. There's I guess the only answer I can properly tell you is there is no right answer. You have to weigh that out for yourself, and you have to figure out what makes the most sense timing wise. You have to look at the auctions coming up. You have to look at price. You have to look at, are you going to get more stake points than you previously got? There's a lot to weigh out, and I don't have that answer for you here. I hope what I did tell you kind of gave some clarity to it, but yeah, I know it's a lot. Let's see here. Let me just drink a glass of water. All right. So I'm just too regarded to understand Hedron Icosa. I just stake Hex. Hey, staking Hex is a winning strategy. Is an absolutely winning strategy. UFO to go says Hedron's going to grab traction sooner than later. Watch it, agreed. Yeah. Hedron's going to start flying at some point. I have no idea when, but it's going to start flying. The auctions might be an indicator to those who have been maybe watching it for a while that it actually has some utility to get Hex, which is a big thing for people. So we'll see. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but there's going to be something, I think. Let's see. How much is yield going to go down after Poly enters the pool? Any guess on the amount they'll stake versus spend on HSIs at auction? Unless they're putting in trillions, they're not going to do much to the pool. Like, even trillions doesn't actually move the pool. Like I think that a trillion tokens isn't even 360-day stake. So they'd have to be like 1.12 trillion tokens roughly. They'd have to put in to get 1.13 tokens, 1.13 trillion tokens. Wow. To get the 360-day stake and be like a whale status. But even that, I think you get like 11% of the pool. Or no, what is it? Hold on. I have to go check it out. But I don't think it's 11%. Don't take that for exactly that number. But I don't think that they can do that much, especially because the way they were talking about it in the video they got, or the video they were live on the other day, was like, they're saying put 98 or vote like 98% into Poly and put like 1 or 2% into the staking pool, just so that way more can be used in the auctions. So I actually think they're going to spend 98+% of it, and maybe a couple percent. And so this is the thing. If they're spending 90+%, they'd have to have 10 trillion tokens placed in Poly in order for them to have a spare trillion tokens lying around to be able to then go and stake. I don't think they're getting 10 trillion tokens. I could be wrong, but I mean, they might get 10 trillion. Who knows? If they got 10 trillion tokens and they have 10% left over, they could do 1 trillion tokens. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be that high. I don't know how many people are willing to burn their Hedron. We're having a pod A. Can't see a better play this week than turning X into an HSI than swapping for Icosa than staking. It's hard to argue with that coming up before these auctions. That's for sure. Let's see. Hey, thanks, Pulse Grandpa. I'm very glad to be back. The better founder. I'm going to pass on the question. Second that. Okay, better founder in forms of technology. I don't think you can, like, RH made Hex. Without Hex, Alex doesn't have anything to build on. So I don't think you can put Alex before RH, but I don't think you can say anything possibly bad or that he's like he's inferior to RH. I think that they're both amazing founders in regards to the technology that they built. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, it really doesn't. I think it's 640 tokens it takes to be in a 6-month lock with Icosa. But yeah, great. Yeah, hey, that's all I got, man. I feel like that's Pauly's an interesting one, and I don't want to go too off on it, but yeah, Pauly's an interesting one. But let's see here. If Alex, Dipcatcher, and RH had a bat fight, who would win? I don't know, dude. It'd probably be. I don't know, man. I don't want anyone to have a bat fight. I don't want any of those people get hurt. I don't want any of those guys to get hurt. We need them. We need them all. Anywho's though, guys. All right. Well, Alex is like a Nikola Tesla, freakish coding talent. He's very freakish coding talent. Yeah, that's another point. That's another good, interesting point. I think, guys, that's all I have. So real quick for you guys today, I think I'm going to end the stream, but before we go, just want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, that if you want to support the channel, if you've been enjoying the content up till now, I'd love if you wanted to support me, if you want to go ahead and join the YouTube memberships, if you'd like to donate to the PayPal address below. If you want as well, you can also go to cryptographics.com. There are these shirts here, the Be Your Own Bank shirts and hoodie. As well, if you want to book a one-on-one call with me where we can go through this one-on-one together and I can show you all the things that you need to consider before the HSI auctions for strategy and for future strategies for how to maximize gains, how to make the most of the ecosystem, so on and so forth. So if you want to go ahead and do that, go to cryptographics.com and you can do so there. If for whatever reason, well, I guess in the comments, guys, just be careful because there are scammers. If it doesn't have my highlighted cryptographics name bar, it's not me, and it's not me trying to get a hold of you. If you have questions for me specifically, you can also go to cryptographics.com. You can go to contact, and when this loads here, you can basically type in your name, email, and you can type the subject matter in, fire me a message. I'll get back to you fairly quickly, and that's the safest place to get or to basically ask me questions if you don't want to deal with the YouTube stuff. But if you also want to drop a comment for the algorithm, that'd be amazing. Or just let me know your thoughts on the video. I know we went on a whole lot of topics, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's video. There's one final thing I'm missing here. Yeah, apparently it's been a while. I'm forgetting stuff. Oh, don't forget to subscribe and like the video as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And yeah, we'll see you guys very soon in the next one. Peace.